Oslo and I speak to Dr. Mats Gilbert. He's a professor of emergency medicine. Dr. Gilbert has worked for 20 years in Gaza and trained junior doctors. Doctor, great to have you here with us. You were listening to our correspondent, Ashraf Shannon, describing the bodies that have been discovered from mass graves. And I think this detail is a bit too distressing for our audience. Some people were found with their heads cut, some without essential organs. And, I just want to ask you, what do you make of this?
Well, to be honest with you, I am sick to the bone. I want to throw up when we once more see the result of the Israeli occupation army and their ruthless massacres of unarmed civilian people in the hospitals, in Shifa, in Nasser, in other hospitals, places of sanctuary to protect life and to give people a shelter when they are wounded, injured, or sick. The Israeli occupation army, use these places to perform the most horrible, sadistic massacres of the Palestinian people. I'm reminded of the Srebrenica massacre. I'm reminded of the Nazi massacres. This is so abhorrent that I think we are watching now not only an occupation army that has left any humanity, any respect for any international laws or human laws by and large, but we see live a massive moral collapse in the Western governments and in the US, because all of this was avoidable, because Israel could have been stopped by the US. Had they only stopped to provide the bombs and the money, there would not have been these massacres. So this is a huge moral collapse, and it is an attack on all of us, because the way the Israeli army is allowed to treat the Palestinian people is an attack on every one of us. And I hope that the few governments in the global south and the few European governments that still stand strong, like the Turkish government, can put more pressure on the United States and the NATO members to stop this insane abuse of power against unarmed people. And as a doctor, to hear that many of the killed, the massacred people are patients with the IV line still inside and with their hands tied to the back and shot at point blank as patients. Of course, these are gross war crimes, and Netanyahu is maybe our time's greatest war criminal, and he must be taken to court and to accountability, like the perpetrators in Srebrenica were.
Doctor, as you rightly pointed out, hospitals are supposed to be a place of sanctuary, a place where people can seek refuge. But the fact that some of the most heinous crimes were perpetrated by Israeli forces in hospitals across Gaza, what do you think this tells us about Israel's war strategy and perhaps the current state of humanity in the world?
Well, I listened to the report earlier on your channel from the Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Watch, Human Rights Monitor, and Mr. Mohammed Shahada. And I think he's right in pointing out that the Israeli occupation army is sending a message to the Palestinian people, not only in Gaza, but also in the West Bank, that this is what's going to become of you if you try to resist the occupation. And we've seen this. This is nothing new. The Israeli occupation forces have been attacking healthcare over the last 20 years. Only during this attack from the 7th of October until February, the WHO, UN, recorded more than 600 attacks on healthcare in Gaza alone. And you have the attacks in Tulkarem, in Jenin, on the ambulances. So this is a modus operandi. And I think the Israeli occupation forces, they cannot control the Israeli popular resistance, because the people of Gaza, when you watch the images we see now, you see great human bravery. They resist. They take care of the wounded. They dig with their hands to find the victims of the bombing. And not only that, but as you said, they dig with their hands to recover the dead bodies, to give them a decent burial. So the Israelis, they attack healthcare in order to dismantle, to destroy the civilian society of the Palestinians. That's the politics of elimination. And they want to scare the Palestinians from resisting. That will never happen. But I think what this leads to is that more and more people all over the world are seeing now the true character of the Israeli colonial occupation project and the genocide they are perpetrating in full daylight on live television every day, without the United States, without the EU governments, without the UK, and without NATO saying, this we will not accept. It could have been stopped. All of these hundreds massacred in Shifa and in Nasser could have been alive if Israel had been controlled.
Doctor, you and I have discussed this before as well, and I'll ask this question again because I believe that the world needs to know what is the stumbling block here, why a ceasefire cannot be reached, why countries like the United States have totally failed in stopping Israel's onslaught on Gaza. There is clear evidence out there that war crimes have been perpetrated by Israeli forces. Many independent human rights organizations have corroborated that. Children have been killed in their thousands, yet Israeli attacks across Gaza continue. Why?
Well, sadly, I think this is in the character of colonialism. This is in the reflexes of the Western colonial powers. They've all done this before with Africa, with South America, and for US with the Arab states and with the Asian states. So for them to occupy and to kill the indigenous people and to erase their history and their culture through the epistemicide, to bomb the universities and to eliminate the people, it is nothing new. This is a prolongation of the European and American United States colonial strategies to gain more resources, more material, more slaves. So it's nothing new to them, unfortunately. And we need all of us now to take stock and to find out where we are standing with regards to this colonial killing that actually, it's not only that USA has not managed to stop them, they have not wanted to stop the Israeli occupation army. And let me at the end remind you that there are still hundreds of healthcare workers being detained by the Israelis. And you were reporting from Nasser Hospital, Dr. Khaled Al-Ser. He is a young surgeon. He is captured by the Israelis, probably now under torture. And I think I would really politely ask your president to put pressure on Israel to release all the healthcare workers that are currently imprisoned in the concentration camps in Israel and in the Negev desert. Because we need not to give up hope for life. We need all of us now to fight these criminal atrocities that we're seeing every day as we are sitting safely in Europe or wherever.
Dr. Matt Gilbert, it's always a pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you very much for talking to us here on TRT World.